Hi.
Hi.
Hi, it's good to see you. You look different. You look different. Something about you is different.
You know, I feel like my life changed.
Yeah. Did you, this is such a random question. Sorry if this feels like it's out of the blue. It's just like you're glowing, you know? Like, did you happen to see Sonic movie 3 yesterday by any chance?
How did you know?
Well, it's just that sort of like takes 5 years, you know, off your life, like restores all health, gives you life and joy kind of glow about you.
Yeah, it's so funny that you mentioned that because I was in the theater last night and my heart was soaring. I was at the edge of my seat.
You were flying through the air. Yeah.
Rolling around at the speed of sound.
One might say that.
How are you? You look like you're in
ragged.
Shock and,
yeah. Yeah, I feel like I simultaneously like just watched the birth of my firstborn and also finished the war and also like graduated the hardest academic, setting you could graduate from. Like I feel like I've been through a ringer, but I've come out on the other side with like my back popped, my spine aligned,
Yeah.
And I'm ready. I'm springy once again to live my life, change, different, having learned some things.
Yeah.
I feel wiser,
Between the movie and also the music event that I went to, just such a transformational week for Sonic.
Yeah.
So Wednesday night, I went to the Sonic the Hedgehog cabaret show at 54 Below, which is a very famous Broadway cabaret club in New York City. And for context, they do 2 shows at night. So the Sonic show was the second show of the night. And we were lined up in the stairwell. It was raining. It was cold. They brought us in to line up in the stairwell while they're getting us set up for the show. And of course, a lot of people, older people, are leaving the earlier show, which was Norm Lewis.
Oh my gosh.
I am at the front of the line.
Yeah.
My boyfriend and I.
The way that you look.
Yes. And this woman, she has to be in her 60s. She's immaculately dressed, think of the New York socialite vibe. And she's looking at this line of people in T-shirts and stuff. And she's like, wait, are they coming to see Norm Lewis too? No? What is this? What's this event? And she is looking dead at me. I realized in that moment she actually wanted me to answer.
Oh my gosh.
And I say very meekly, oh, we're going to see Sonic the Hedgehog. And then the usher was like, yeah, there's a Sonic the Hedgehog event happening here. It's just music from the games and stuff. And the lady, I could tell she didn't really know what to do with that information, but she just said, okay. And she walked up the stairs to the exit of 54 Below. And I'm left feeling like I died a little inside, but then I was immediately restored by this awesome show. And I'm like, I don't care. This lady got to see Norm Lewis and I got to see the next best thing.
Right. To each their own.
Exactly. Welcome to the Bee and the Berry.
Oh, I'm the bee. Sorry, my life just changed so drastically. I sort of forgot where I am and how I respond. I'm the bee.
And I think I'm Strawberry.
Right, hard to know. And this is the Bee and the Berry, and a regularly released Sonic fan podcast where we talk about all things Sonic and all things fandom.
And we have the most anticipated episode of our show yet.
We've returned from the war.
Yes.
To deliver you, our loyal listeners, a kiss, a letter, and also all this information.
Yes. All of these feelings.
Yeah, so many feelings when you're out at war and come home.
I mean, you know how it is. We are just so sensitive, and we need to get these feelings into the world to connect with you all, as girly pops do.
Well, I'm sure, actually, that's such a good word for it, because I think we're all feeling a little sensitive right now. In like a really good way, but in just like a way where, I mean, I don't know if you feel this way, Strawb, but the anticipation for this movie has been building for so long. To finally see it and know what happens in it, like the release, the relief, I feel like just dazed in the wake of finally having somewhere to put all my energy, something to be excited about, something to go see, to go digest, you know.
Yeah.
I kind of don't know what to do with myself.
I feel like someone just told me that my student loan debt was forgiven.
And obviously that's never going to happen. But you know what did happen? We went and saw Sonic Movie 3. I think obviously, Strawb, you can agree on this, I'm sure. We're going to start with non-spoiler talk, and then we'll be very deliberate about saying, okay, we're shifting to spoilers. I'll probably put some fun, kooky sound effects.
Let's get a siren. So it's going to be the spoiler siren. When you hear the siren that B is going to edit in post, that is your signal.
Yeah, that's your signal.
Yeah, you played a siren here. For example, when you hear this siren, that's going to be the signal that we are moving into spoiler territory.
And I know you just heard it just then as we played it as practice, but we're not moving into spoiler territory.
We are not moving into spoiler territory right now. Actually, before we even talk about the movie, I do want to talk a little bit about the event that I went to, because
please.
It
Very
was
cool.
Spectacular.
Oh, that's so fun.
I was legitimately impressed. So how I learned about this was from a non-Sonic friend who works within the theater industry in New York, and she was like, hey, Strawbz, like, I just saw this on TDF, which is like, it's like a place where you can get like discounted tickets for Broadway shows. And it was like a Sonic the Hedgehog cabaret show where they had like different like young actors, like Broadway actors, including like someone who was in Dear Evan Hansen, singing songs from the games. This is a fan event, right? And she's like, hey, I can buy up to 2 tickets. Do you want to go? And I'm like, fuck yes.
Yeah, that's so fun. Such a niche event. That's like exactly where you want to be.
It's a very, as a theater kid in the past, I mean, I guess you could argue I'm still a theater kid.
Yeah, I would argue that.
Yes. Yeah. I'm still I'm a theater kid. I'm just not on a stage.
Somebody give her a platform.
Yes, someone give us a platform. But I was like, this was a very big when worlds collide moment for me.
Totally.
And I was like, I have to go. So my boyfriend and we went, and it was at 54 Below, which was beautiful. It's such an intimate space. Like, our tickets were like less than $25, and we were like second row.
Oh, that's so fun.
The energy that each performer brought to the songs, I mean, like, they were all fantastic. And the producers of the show, they were the ones that were playing and conducting the band. Really have to give huge props to them. They sang Live and Learn, Open Your Heart. Oh my God, there was this guy that sang What I'm Made Of, and he was like dressed as like Shadow. And at the end of the night, like, he saw me in my Shadow getup, because I wore my Shadow fit and I brought my Shadow plush with him.
So cute.
And he was like, you are dripped out. And we ended up becoming friends after that night.
You know, sometimes there's an old woman who's there to see Norm Lewis who makes you feel like an absolute loser for seeing Shadow. And sometimes there's a cool collegiate singer who says that you're dripped out and makes you feel really sick for going to watch Sonic the Hedgehog concerts.
He actually, it's so funny, he doesn't live in New York.
What?
He flew out from Detroit to perform.
What the fuck?
I know.
So funny. So he was like, when you talked to him, he was like a real fan of the franchise, and he was just like, this opportunity is too fun. I have to fly out and go perform at 54 Below and sing Sonic. God, that's so fun. Humans can be really cool.
Yeah. And I mean, I will also say for those who are not within like the theater space or anything, 54 Below is like, I want to say like one of those coveted spaces for musical theater people where if you like, it is considered an honor to be able to perform in a space like 54 Below. And actually this is the first time that 54 Below has really had an event like this, and the energy in that room was so infectious. I mean, each singer was so amazing. And like, I actually did talk to one of the producers, and they said that they're going to be putting some of the songs on YouTube. So I will definitely be sharing that online, because I just feel like, man, like if I had known about this earlier, I would have been like, you know, promoting this for the fandom like crazy. They had a live stream.
Yeah, totally. Actually, that reminds me, somebody else special showed up and flew in, potentially.
Yes. I was just like, oh, you know, Shota just performed at like the Newark Sonic Symphony. And so I was like, hey, Shota, this event sounds really cool. And he was like, oh, I'll check it out. And then he pulled up, and I am so glad that he was able to make these performers nights. Like, he went and introduced himself to the band at the end of the night, and just again, it was like amazing singing.
That is so cute.
So all of that is to say, support your local events. You might have to do a little bit of digging, but it is just so rewarding to see, you know, the culmination of all this hard work, you know? There were literally some of the performers, they learned their song 12 hours before the show, and they nailed it.
That's so crazy.
Nailed it. I am just, I feel so proud for them, and I'm so happy for them. So all of that is to say, this really whet my appetite for Sonic Movie 3.
Yeah, speaking of rewarding culmination. Yeah, so
non-spoiler Sonic Movie 3. How do we do
Where do we even start? Why don't you just tell me about your emotional experience as you watched the film, Strawb?
Oh, okay. Long story short is that someone who I was going in a group, it was quite a number of us, but then one of the people that I had bought tickets for dropped out very last minute. I'm talking like our showtime was 7:15 and it was 7:10 when I basically learned that they weren't going to show up.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And so I was rushing to figure out like, okay, refunding my ticket on AMC. So that really kind of got under my skin a little bit, I won't lie. But I mean, the good thing is that they pad the fuck out of these movies with like so many trailers at the beginning.
Yeah.
So it was 6 of us that went, my partner and a bunch of our friends, and it just relief when I got into the seats. and my partner got me cookies and cream Dippin' Dots. That was my snack of choice.
Fun.
And those opening moments, I mean, the whole thing was just amazing.
Opening moments. Oh gosh, yes.
Yes. How was your experience
I
getting
can't lie.
in?
I was just like scared. Like I was sitting there in the seat like I can't believe I'm about to watch this. I feel a little disassociative about it. And also like what if I don't like it? And I know that everybody's been really enjoying it and they're saying it's so great. Like what if my experience is not everything I've hyped it up to be? But it was also a lot of like excited anticipation, and I was there with all of my siblings and my partner, and they were all just like excited to be there with me and watch it with me, which is really sweet of them because they just know how much I love the franchise and how much this means to me. So that was nice to be surrounded by people who were like treating the moment with the same seriousness that I was, which like obviously it's silly, like it's just a movie about a hedgehog, but it was so important to me.
Yeah, I know. So wait, your siblings and stuff, they've seen the other movies?
Okay, I did have to run them down about Sonic Movie 2 a little bit, but honestly, I don't think, and correct me if you think this, like I don't really think that you need to see Sonic 1 or 2 to watch this movie.
I know. I was actually gonna say that one of my friends who came, she had only seen Sonic 1 and she didn't have a chance to see Sonic 2. She saw Sonic 1, I think, like spread out over the week because
what an interesting way to watch Sonic.
Well, how she was like, and I love her so much. My friends that came with me, these are friends that I have known basically since childhood. And she was like, I don't have a lot of emotional investment in this, but I know how important this is for you. And I kind of just want to be there to see your reaction.
Exactly. Yes.
So she did watch Sonic 1. But for the most part, I think the movie was pretty self-contained.
Agreed. Like I had to onboard them a little bit to say like the Chaos Emeralds are here now and the Master Emerald is a thing, but that's like pretty basic Sonic lore, and as long as you know that that's like a power source that's around and available, I think you're good to go.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like a general way I would express it is that there was clearly so much heart put into this movie. And I think it's very clear that they did center like more of like honoring the game content and lore in a way that made sense to the universe.
Yeah.
Because the movie universe is very distinct. It is pretty insular. It's its own thing.
Yeah.
So I don't have the expectations for the movie universe in the way that I would for the game universe.
Totally.
You know, they just handle things differently, and that's okay. I think it works well for what they are trying to achieve in these movies. But clearly there was just so much heart put into here, and I think that you could feel from the performance of both the live actors and the voice actors that they enjoyed making this movie. It's great to see. Like, it felt like Sonic movie 1 and 2, those were just really setups for this huge pivotal moment that is Sonic movie 3. And you can see it in every aspect of the production of this movie, like all the details. They really hyped this up, and they hyped this up for a long time. You know, I mean, we were in the trenches, like waiting for the trailer. I know.
That's why it feels so like almost like I feel again almost dazed or stunned in the wake of seeing it, because it's like, finally we have our answers, we have our moment, and it's so hard to come down from that. And I totally agree that this is like a big pivotal point for the franchise. Obviously, we know Sonic 4 is coming, and we have known Sonic 4 is coming. I work in the industry, and I see what titles are registered and owned by companies, and I'm pretty sure that they have registered up till Sonic 5. But I just think that this is a huge setup for essentially, like, the stories are just going to get more and more epic because the group is here. And the world is so expansive now. It's got all the major things you need in it to just like do these huge, large scale adventures.
Yeah.
Some broad but still pointed highlights for me include pretty much any fight scene. I thought they looked so phenomenal. I thought the action was so dynamic. I also think Keanu Reeves as Shadow was a huge highlight for me. I was just sitting there watching the movie thinking, Keanu doesn't sound like Keanu. Like, he's really doing a voice that sounds like he made it for this character and that it works. Because usually he's got a little bit more of like a California chill surfer guy vibe. But he was I thought he sounded very thoughtful, insular, like...
he seemed very invested in the performance.
Yes, I agree. And I thought he did great. Other highlight for me is Idris Elba as Knuckles. I think he's so charming.
He is.
I just think he was great.
And Colleen as Tails. Oh my God.
I know.
Especially like, I love Tails. He's such a little guy.
Yeah.
I think just like seeing the moments in the movie with Tails, just like this whole movie just re-energized my love for the franchise and my love for creation.
So that's how you know that it, like, that's just how you know it's full of heart and that it did what it should do, which is inspire people to engage. That's what you want always, right?
Yeah.
Is to do something with like such intention and such skill that inspires other people to engage. And I think this movie totally did that. Other highlights on a broad scale for me, obviously Stone.
Yes.
Crushing it with his performance this movie.
Yes. Lee Majdoub, oh my God, did such a great job. So great proud.
Job. Yeah. What about for you, Strawb, on a zoomed out scale? Do you have any other highlights to include?
Tika Sumpter did such a great job, but I will elaborate on that more in our spoiler section.
Yeah, for sure.
But
agreed.
I don't know. I hope that Jeff Fowler and Tyson Hess and of course Ben Schwartz. I mean,
we love that man.
We love him. Sorry,
he's our pod angel.
Oh my God.
We will not hear of any Benny Schwa Schwa slander on this podcast.
No.
He liked my tweet.
The Bee, the Berry, and the Benny Schwa Schwa.
Oh my God. Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God. Hey.
That's a new resolution for us in the new year. Resolutions get big enough that we get invited to the next movie premiere and get Benny Schwa Schwa on this pod somehow, some way.
So you guys should help us get to the Sonic Movie 4 premiere. Yeah. And,
which may be there. We will see Ben Schwa Schwa.
Yeah. Ben, if you are hearing this, I would drop everything to have you on this pod with my girl B.
Yeah.
And
to be the Berry and the Benny Schwa Schwa.
Yeah.
Coming at you. 2025.
Yes. Oh my God.
That's really good. Yeah, obviously we love that guy.
There's one thing actually that I have to say that we didn't talk about. It was I want to say like a couple weeks or so before the movie came out, and they have they have all the promotional material for the movie coming out on billboards and stuff. It's like the big painted one in Koreatown in LA. Mm-hmm. And so Ben Schwartz like made like a video of himself like, filming like, oh yeah, that's the Sonic Movie 3 poster on this building in LA. And why was he standing in the Meridian on Wilshire Boulevard?
He had to get that good angle. He said, I will promote my blue man at any cost. I will stand in the road.
Just walking it, like, for context, Wilshire Boulevard is a major road with a lot of cars. And I'm just like, bro, I know you're Sonic, but you're not Sonic. Please do not just jaywalk in a road in LA. New York is one thing.
As he said in the movie, sometimes he makes bad decisions.
Yeah, so, okay.
Oh, before we transition to spoilers, unless you have more to say, I do want to talk very quickly, just from a professional POV, about box office.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really important, and I think listeners should be keyed into this. I'm sure they know and understand, but like the severity of box office numbers is so pivotal, especially now. I mean, you see these big franchises, these big blockbusters, they do badly their first weekend, they flop, and then they immediately get moved to streaming or to video on demand, and that is a sign that a movie has failed and probably will not be picked up. And the reason, like, it's just so heartbreaking because it is, like Netflix, a numbers game. So I just want to emphasize, and obviously not everybody has the time, not everybody has the money, you know, do what you can, but it is really important to go to movies on opening weekend, especially if you really believe in them, like these franchises, to go on opening weekend if you can, because more and more it's just about how they do opening weekend, which is shitty, but that's the reality.
They unfortunately want, like, basically it feels like every movie has to have an Avengers type record,
and fast,
which I will say, at least from what I'm seeing, people are so stoked to see this movie this weekend.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I'm happy to report from the news desk of the Bee and the Berry that Sonic is outpacing itself. So it's doing better than the past two movies, which is huge in of itself. And it's also beating Mufasa, which was, in my opinion, as a, like, just marketing brain, was never going to be the movie of Christmas weekend.
Yeah.
But it's nice that the news is reporting it in a way that, like, Sonic outruns Mufasa, which is also huge because it just shows that it's able to be a tentpole movie for the year.
Yeah.
Which I totally think it is, and I totally thought it was going to be.
And especially when you consider,
huge.
competing against an animated feature, technically, from Disney.
Totally.
You 100%. know? But I just think that the entire cast and crew of that movie should be so proud.
Yeah. And so really, we're doing well.
Yeah. And also, another quick thing as a music person, just quick commentary on the soundtrack.
Thank you. I waiting for you to do that. You should.
I will not spoil anything, just that, you know, my expectations were set apart. It was fantastic, and I think that I think that everyone is in for a treat, whether you like Shadow, whether you don't really like Shadow, you know, regardless of your personal investment in the movie franchise. I do think that most people will walk into the theater and take away a positive experience from it.
Totally. Agreed. You will probably chuckle at least once. I don't know. I think it's great.
Shall we ring the siren?
Wee-oo, wee-oo. I'll put a real sound effect. Oh man, everybody run. The spoilers are here. Take shelter if you're not ready for it.
So, literally, if you have not watched the movie yet, and you know you want to watch the movie without
I'm going to give you 3 more seconds.
3 more seconds.
3, 2, 1. Oh my god, Amy's the end credits scene.
Can I, like, oh my god.
Pardon me while I throw a table really quick will you excuse me for 1 second?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back. And I'm so composed.
I like literally, when I say I screamed in the theater, I know. It was like a guttural, like,
no.
It was like someone like punched me.
And they did us so fucking dirty with that end cutscene because 1, it was so long. That was like a whole mini movie in itself. And 2, they started off with, here's the big kicker, Metal Sonic. And I thought, okay, whoa, Metal Sonic's here. I wasn't expecting that. And then it continued. I was like, okay, but maybe we'll still get her. And it continued on. And there was no Amy for so long that I was like, oh, fuck, I'm going to have to pretend like I'm happy with just Metal Sonic in the new movie.
I mean, here's the thing. I knew that it was going to be Metal Sonic.
Really?
What I had thought from the Sonic 3 trailer was that, that Sonic had given Eggman the quill in the trailer. And I was like, I don't think they're going to really use it in this movie, but I thought that was going to be the setup for movie 4 with Metal Sonic.
Or we'll just have to wait and see. Because also, Eggman is dead again, question mark?
Well, that's where who's next of kin? Stone. Oh my God. We have to get into it, but I do want to close the book on Amy. Otherwise, I could talk about it all day. Yes.
So thank God she did show up. Huge. And they did a great job of obscuring anything about her that like could give away design. She was like in a cloak. She didn't say a word because obviously they don't have anyone cast yet. But they're probably doing that now. But she looked so cute.
I literally, when I saw the cloak, I saw the scene and I was like, what is Bee doing now? Like, it was like giving what was stolen.
I actually thought the same thing. Listen, I didn't want to say it, but I was like, oh my God, it's Amy in the Glade in the cloak. And she like had the attitude. I don't know. I was like, whoa, that's my freaking girl, dude.
I was like, oh my gosh. So you weren't going to tell me that you're working on Sonic Movie 4?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, actually, this is so funny and I digress. And maybe it's a story for another time, but obviously I think about this a lot. I get worried. I got pretty far along in interviews to be the lore associate at Sega. I don't know if people on the pod know that. A couple years ago when they were hiring for that position, I made it pretty far into interviews. And it was before Sonic 3 came out, and they were asking, was telling them about my prior experience, which had been in casting. And they were like, oh, Sonic Movie 3 is coming out. Who would you cast as Shadow? And I was like, well, and this was a joke. Let me be so clear. This was a joke. And I think they understood that it was a joke. But I was like, well, you always want to cast somebody who's going to bring more people into the theater, who's going to pull numbers in the box office. And who's really hot right now is T'Chall's Timothée Chalamet. And everybody, I said like, oh, wouldn't it be so funny if it was Timothée Chalamet and Shadow suddenly like has a really chiseled jawline? And I think they knew I was joking, but sometimes I'm like, did they think I really wanted to cast Timothée Chalamet as Shadow? Because I would never.
Oh my God.
So to say, maybe I could have been working on Sonic 4, but no, I have no involvement, even though the vibes are right.
I think Timothée Chalamet could be Silver, but that's a story for another day.
Oh.
Not seriously, but gag casting.
I want to just say, I hope everybody who has always been an Amy lover who likes women. I want to say congrats to anybody who likes women, female characters, anybody who wants to see women on screen. Congratulations. This is a huge win for us.
Congratulations to women, period.
Yes. Finally.
Women.
Finally.
We won. We have been heard.
Yeah.
We are represented.
Is dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
It died yesterday. So thrilled. So excited. And Metal Sonic is here. Not to gloss over that. I mean, we should put this aside, but we should come back and do a little speculation for the 4th movie because we've got things to work with. And obviously, you should know there's a second post-credit scene. This one, I was like, I didn't know that there was a second post-credit scene, but Levi, my brother, had looked it up. And so I sat and stayed, and I was like, I bet you it's just that Shadow's alive, because we all know Shadow's alive.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it was. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm glad they established that, at least for the uninitiated watchers.
Totally. Okay. Putting the cap on that, corking up that happiness, keeping it for myself, bottling it, this feeling. And let's move back to the real film.
The real film. Okay. I mean, my favorite part of the movie was when Shadow sang Defying Gravity.
Right. That was, and it came, like, when it started, I was like, whoa, that's a bold choice. I don't know if I agree with it. But obviously, by the time it was over and he hit that final riff, I was fully on board.
Yeah. Shadow looks good in green. That's all I'll say.
Oh, my God. Actually, he looks good in pink. Shout out to the super transformation, which he was really giving like a little salmon peachy glow.
Yeah.
That was cute.
Oh, I was gonna say, in regards to, sorry, Shadow being alive, it's like
Yes.
what I explained to my friend. I was just like, Shadow's like a cockroach. You can't kill him.
No, no, that's so true. The apocalypse is going to happen and we'll all be gone and Shadow will still be wandering the earth.
Yeah. The opening scenes were
So
really good.
When he busted out of that container and he fucked all those guards up.
Especially like the this is gonna sound so bad. The detail of Shadow busting out and he's just dripping
So
wet.
Yeah, so wet. And he stays wet for a little bit.
He does. And literally my friend who did not see the movies, like doesn't know anything, she was like, wait, Shadow's actually really cool.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the night,
so cool.
at the end of the night, she looked at me and she was like, but wait, like, why was he so seductive?
He doesn't mean to be, and I think that's what works for him, you know?
Exactly.
He's so naturally
Just-
alluring.
I know. My God,
Oh my God. We're canceled. Canceled.
we are literally. No.
Yeah, no, that was such a good opening scene. Loved that shit. And then boys being boys. I feel like Sonic movie can be a little bit clunky with their exposition, but it's at those moments where, Tom and Maddie and all the boys are camping and Sonic finds his old burrow and Tom sort of delivers us the moral of the story, which is like, you lost somebody, but you don't let your pain dictate your choices. Who you are on the inside remains the same, and you have to trust yourself to keep living well and being yourself instead of letting your pain, overcome you. And it's at those moments where I'm like, listen, this is clean writing, this is tight writing, and this is also a family movie. And so
Yes.
it works because it's so circular. Like, obviously, that's going to come back around. We can all tell that. But it's better than them writing some nonsense that doesn't come back around, that doesn't help the story. And it's a family movie. Like, obviously, they are delivering morals, and they should. And it's also at this moment where there's a transition where Tom or Sonic says, like, I wonder what kind of hedgehog I would be if I didn't find you guys.
Yes.
And it sort of overlaps that with an image of
Shadow,
like stalking through the rainy Tokyo streets. And I was gagged. I loved that transition because they are such a one-to-one comparison of each other. To do that, like, it didn't feel on the nose because it worked so well.
Yeah.
Good shit.
And there's just like so much.
Yeah, I
There's
know.
like
I think
so much.
I really loved all the Maria bits. I want to give a huge shout out to my wonderful friend Palooza, who makes such incredible, speaking of fandom, they make such incredible Maria and Shadow content.
Yes.
And when I was watching this movie, I thought they nailed it. They got the dynamic so right because this is 50 years ago and Maria and Shadow were so cute. And especially like them singing songs, them listening to the records. Palooza does such wonderful art of them like dancing to these songs together and then like transitioning to the present where he's listening to the music without her. And it was so that I was like, oh my God, ARC siblings.
I loved when she drew the bunny on the glass. And I don't know, I think just in general, one of the things that we have been a little bit starved for in official Sonic media is the dynamic of Shadow and Maria before this tragic incident. Totally. And the movie just did that in such a beautiful way where, like, I like the part where like Maria is just dancing with him and he's just like letting her take his hands and like
so
shuffle
sweet.
Awkwardly.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what's going on, but he's just kind of going along with it.
Yeah. They outlined such great moments for them too. And I do like the like sitting under stars conversation they had and about how like the star is gone, but it still shines. I didn't find that like cliched writing. And maybe it was the delivery or maybe it's just because I love the character so much. I really enjoyed it. There's just so much to enjoy. And I love the glimpses of like Shadow, getting tested on and things like that. And then there was a moment too where, Gunn decided to shut the project down or whatever. And they were coming for Gerald and Maria and Shadow, and Gerald busts into the room and he says, "Kids, we have to go."
Yeah.
And that really got me because I was like, Shadow is his kid too. And also Shadow is a kid. Like, obviously he has a lot of painful experiences that make him very mature, but like there are people in the world who considered him part of their family. And those are the people who are hurting him the most, who have hurt him the most, and who also loved him the most. It's so emotional.
It was especially just like the backstory of Shadow, right, has been modified for this movie where he came from a meteor and was not created by Gerald. Actually, my boyfriend pointed this out. Maria's not sick in this movie.
No, that's what I was gonna say. She's not sick.
And I'm actually very okay with that because Gerald in the games, he created Shadow partially out of a desire to cure Maria's sickness, but I mean, he didn't create Shadow in the movie, he just kind of found him. And I think the one thing that I wish that I got to see more, even though it was said a little bit, I wish we got to see Gerald interact more with Maria and with Shadow, at least like prior to the incident.
Totally.
Because there was one line at the end that Gerald kind of says, in the long culmination of him and Ivo's relationship throughout the film, where Gerald basically says something along the lines of, my family, like when Maria was taken from me, my family was gone.
You're no Maria. Yeah. Oh, got me.
I feel like I had the context for that line to have weight, but talking with my friend, she was like, it didn't hit her that hard because she didn't have the game context or anything. Right. And we did not see much of Gerald's relationship with Maria directly, just in like, that he brought her. So I think that's just like the one thing that, if they had a little more time, I would have loved to see,
No, and rightfully so, they chose to spend more time with Shadow and Maria, but I think you're right. If they had cut a few things and given a little bit more time to Gerald and Maria, or the three of them together. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. But there's so much to balance in these movies, especially because the cast just keeps expanding. There's a lot to get to.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Tails in this movie.
Oh yeah, please.
Like, I have so many feelings, but because everyone is talking about Shadow here,
right?
Which as they should, but Tails, I think, really got his flowers. I think like Colleen is getting her flowers. I think she should get more, but I think one of the critiques of Sonic Movie 2 was that because it was introducing both Tails and Knuckles.
Yeah.
It felt like Tails had kind of a rushed introduction. And we got to see Tails with just more agency and more of a role. We get to see Tails be, the sweet gadget kid.
Yeah.
And oh man, like it just made me so happy. It renewed a love for me that I have for his character. And
yeah, he's so sweet.
I think like especially because Colleen was coming onto these movies. She's not like a Hollywood like A-list actor. She quite literally just like a video game actress, and now like it just made me really happy to see that they took that feedback of we did not have enough Tails, and it feels like they put it in this movie, and
yeah,
I loved it.
Yeah,
Pika.
Totally. And I just liked the three of them this movie too. Like I thought Knuckles was firing on all cylinders too. Like when I love the confrontation moment when Sonic is like, I'm going to use the fucking Master Emerald. And Knuckles is like, fucking, I dare you to try. And then Tails is like, please guys, can we just like, I thought we were friends. Let's act like it. And then Knuckles steps down and is like, fine, I'll break my oath, but I hope you remember forever that you're breaking yours too. Which I was like, oh shit, that's so good. Like, of course, that's the punishment. That's the ultimate punishment. Like, I'm going to let you do it, but you're going to have to live with that choice, which is so true.
Yeah.
Ugh, it's good.
And well, especially like it was just right like in that scene too where Tails was trying to like comfort Sonic and Sonic is just so angry, and then like Knuckles steps in like being like, yo, you're being a real dick right now.
It's really good. I love when they like, interact. Are you kidding me?
And I like that scene had me at the edge of my seat.
Me too.
I was like, no, I don't want to see this, but I need to keep my eyes glued to the screen.
No, I the same. That was like one of the more emotional, gripping moments for me is when they were at odds, because it was so real. And I just love when these characters interact with each other and their moral compasses clash. I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it.
This ties into, I think, what I had mentioned about Tika Sumpter in the non-spoiler section.
Yes.
Where, you know, in the scene, it's like, you know, Tom got fucking punched by Shadow.
Dude, bitch should be dead. Hey, bitch should be dead.
I will say they held on to that cop out for like, because I was expecting Tom to like, you know, after Shadow had disappeared, for Tom to like wake up, and then he didn't, and I was like, wait, no, they're not killing Tom. Like, no. I was actually like, I knew they weren't gonna do it, but I was like, they're holding on to this cop out for a bit, and it's particularly the scene where Tom is being rushed on the gurney into the ambulance, and Tika Sumpter is, and she's just. It was like the moment where she's just staring at the three of them, staring at Sonic, really.
Yes.
That stare was for Sonic, but for the three of them, where I think about how in the first film, remember like when Tom brought Sonic to Maddie, and it was the type of thing where Maddie was like, I am like, you know, like I'm doing something crazy, but I'm doing this something crazy because I love you. And again, like reaffirming her loving relationship with Tom, like, but the fact that she was so willing, because she loved Tom so much, she was willing to trust Sonic. And like, I feel like that scene, the ambulance scene, it just conveyed, like, that actually broke me.
And I am glad that he didn't wake up in that moment.
Yes, me too. Because I could feel her anger. Like, I could feel resentment.
Yes. And I could feel resentment from Sonic too when he turns to Shadow and he says, "What did you do?" And they should resent each other a little bit all the time.
Yeah. I mean, oh man, I love that they took this movie seriously.
I know. And I will say, like, even Jim Carrey in the moment when we flash back, because this is kind of paired with that moment when Maria dies, which, another big spoiler, they do not directly shoot the child.
I predicted this.
Yes, you did. I think that was right. I think that was right of them.
Yes. The Bee and the Berry hot take is that we are glad they did not shoot the child.
Yeah, don't shoot the child. You don't have to. Not in this form. Shoot the child in the games all you want, but I was getting nervous because he raised the gun and I was like, I wonder if anybody in this fucking crowd is going to cheer. And then actually I think it was so smart. They didn't give anybody the chance to by not shooting the child. But even Jim Carrey in the moment where Maria dies and you know, Gerald and Shadow are looking at each other. Like, Jim Carrey is really delivering on the tears, the sadness. There's no goofiness to that character in the moment, which I really appreciated. And I thought he did great. I think everybody who was hitting emotional moments did great. Even Stone, when he was crying on Earth. And Stone, when he was on the phone and he said, "I can't lose you again," to Dr. Robotnik, the way that I was dying.
I literally,
I was
holding my friend's hands. The confession.
Yes, the confession. And I love Stone because he is feeling jealous. He is feeling jealous. And I thought, oh my God, I wonder if they're going to have him turn on him. But they didn't. Stone would never do that. And that's what I love about his character. Even in that moment, it was about not losing him again, not being so angry that he was willing to lose him. Ah!
Yeah.
Romance.
Oh my God.
I also love the implication in the final confrontation when Gerald, because I thought, man, why did they leave Stone down there for the big end moment? That's kind of sad. And then Gerald says, we're gonna commit mass genocide. We're gonna destroy the earth.
Not just destroy everything down there, but also he literally said to destroy themselves in the process.
No, nihilism at its most potent.
I actually did not expect the movie to go that direction, but I was just like, oh shit.
But I love when he said there's nothing down there that loves you, and we all thought Stone is down there and he loves you. Oh
yes. And I will say I loved that scene, the confession, where I kind of want Eggman to stay dead. Because I feel like that's part of this is part of his arc, right? Of he kind of got a taste. I mean, he got a taste for blood family relationships with Gerald, but when realizing that was fake, he realized that he had that with Stone the entire time. And I just feel like, this sacrifice is this is his character arc, so that's why I'm just man, just let him stay dead, because that it would kind of defeat the purpose of his sacrifice and that entire arc for me.
Here is the franchise reason why they do this, and you know this, but to continue the conversation, it's to give Jim Carrey the option to come back or to not come back.
Yes.
Because obviously they're going to let Jim Carrey come back as often as he wants, but they have to fake kill him at the end of every movie in case he says, no, for real, I'm not going to come back. And that's also why they have Stone, and why they continue to have Stone, is because when Jim Carrey does decide to say, no, I'm not coming back, Stone is going to take up the moniker of Eggman and be the Eggman, which I think is great. I love that. But yeah, there are logistical reasons why they have to do that story-wise, which I get.
And just in general, right? when you have when you're in production for these types of projects and stuff, it's of course you might be the stories, the characters, things are leading up to this, it should be like this, or it shouldn't be like this. And it's well, if we're going to talk about making these stories, it's a big collaborative effort, and you kind of have to have a contingency plan in case someone isn't able to show up, and how do you handle that plot wise. And that's just the name of the game.
100%. Or if somebody decides they don't want to do it anymore, because at this point we've been doing Sonic movies for 2020 for 5 years straight, just about, and at some point people are going to decide they don't want to, James Marsden might look up and be like, I would like to go be in a different movie that I got offered, and I'm done doing the Sonic game. Obviously the Sonic game could go on for forever, but people don't want to do this, especially actors. They don't want to do the same thing forever and ever unless the paycheck is there, which is why people keep coming back to the MCU and stuff like that.
I was actually going to say, in that same vein, not that I'm trying to will this or anything, but the culmination and scope of Sonic Movie 3, in my opinion, this is Jeff Fowler's big love letter to the franchise, especially as many of you guys know, Jeff Fowler worked on Shadow 2005. I think he did some sort of storyboarding or animation work for that game, but I would actually not be surprised, because he started working on these movies back in 2015, which is when they were first being developed and everything. I wouldn't be surprised if even he as the director was you know what, I have had the honor and privilege of my life of making these movies. I want to explore more within the world of filmmaking, and I don't know, I'm not that I want this, because I do love Jeff Fowler as a director, and Jeff, if you hear this, please stay for me. But I would also completely understand if he's like, you know what, like, I'm ready to pass the torch on to the next director. And that's just the, you know, when you have projects that are these scopes, that's just kind of how it plays, you know?
Totally. But that being said, everybody needs to get on board, because the next movie is my girl's movie, and I want the best of the best for her.
Literally. Like,
only the finest for my, oh my God, she's a girl boss in New York. We didn't even mention that. What's she doing in New York?
She's literally New Yorkian.
She's a New York girl. Anyway.
Oh my God.
I want to give a shout out to the opening fight scene with Sonic and Shadow, which again happens in Tokyo, when Shadow gets on that motorcycle and they rush around Tokyo. That was sick as fuck. When Shadow grabs that gun and just decides to try and shoot Sonic, that made me laugh out loud.
Literally. I will say, the Commander Walters, that's his name.
Yes.
I did feel a little bit that the exposition kind of was a little fast.
Agreed.
Okay, can we talk about the death scene of Walters?
Is he dead? That's what I wanted to know. He's dead. He is dead.
He is dead. And that's the thing. It's like, his death was so random.
It was really abrupt.
Okay. So, you know how, like, when he's like, his final breath, and he reaches into his pocket to pull out something, and he's like, "Here, Sonic, take this." I thought he was gonna give Sonic an Olive Garden gift card.
Oh my God, that would have been so funny. I literally was like bracing myself for another Olive Garden joke. Oh my God, and then so funny. He is the Olive Garden man.
Literally, and then he just died.
Yep, and then he just died.
I don't want to say it was anticlimactic, but I think it just happened so fast.
Yeah. Well, and also, like, when a character dies, you want to be like, oh, that meant something. But that character is so incidental to these movies. Like, he really comes to deliver exposition and then goes. And so it just felt like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. You know, I think they tried to lead more into painting Commander Walters a little bit in the backstory.
Yeah, which I liked. He was a little cutie in the backstory.
Yeah, that he at least, like, cared about Maria.
Yeah. Commander Walters saved a franchise from shooting a child. That's a hero.
Literally.
That is a hero.
Yeah, the child only died by explosion.
Right. Oh my God. Would you rather?
Oh God.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. Dance scene.
Okay, to be honest, I fucking love that scene.
I thought it was really funny.
The way I was dying with laughter when they were doing these dance moves, which were so, like, dance team, high school dance team, when Gerald gets on the ground and spreads his legs out and reaches forward, and then Ivo does the, like, should I push the button thing. Oh my God, I was cracking up. When he picks him up and spins around and they get these shots. Watching Jim Carrey do physical comedy is always so fascinating and usually a treat. Sometimes it can be a bit much, but usually it's a treat to watch him move his body as these characters. It's just so fascinating.
Yeah. It was so... I was like, wow, this is incredible. This is cinema.
And it actually was really cracking me up because their jumpsuits looked so cheap.
It did.
Their jumpsuits looked like they came straight from Party City, but that kind of made it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of the gag, right? Of like really, really leaning into, we have Jim Carrey as Eggman, so we have to, like, make the Eggman and Gerald scenes as funny as possible, but then, like, it also these emotional highs and lows of the movie.
Well, I actually, to be honest, I think that Sonic movies have always leaned very campy. And I don't think I don't know if they meant to do that originally, but there was just so much tacky product placement and, like, silly moments in the first one, especially, that it just really set it up for these camp tone that I think really works in the movie's favor. And it also just allows especially Jim Carrey to go buck wild, which, you know, he deserves. Let him do it. So I think in that moment with the lights and these shit jumpsuits, it just felt so campy, and I live for that.
We love it. Live,
we
laugh, love.
love it. Catch us. If only we did TikTok and we lived together, Strawb, you and I would learn that dance so hard.
We could learn it for Revo.
Yeah, absolutely. But I also think it worked in juxtaposition to the next suit of Gerald and Ivo's that we got, which looked so great, which was the Eggman suit, and I loved that suit. Looked great, and it looked practical too, which I loved.
It was they were really, really good.
Really caught me off guard, the brutality with which Ivo just flicked his grandfather into a straight bug zapper, and then Gerald disappeared from existence in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, it was funny, but it was also just like, shit, man.
Yeah.
We have to talk about Supersonic and Super Shadow.
I know, we haven't even gotten to the crux of the movie.
Just, oh god, when they're just going at each other, when they transform into Supersonic and Shadow.
Yes.
So I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, but there is a scene from like a trailer or something of like Shadow in like the flames.
Yes.
Like and actually what it is that clip was just for the trailer in the movie. That is actually when he's Super Shadow.
No, I remember, because I remember essentially at this point it became for me a little beat by beat Sonic movie 2, which is fine. That's how narrative works. But essentially, like, they're fighting each other. They go super, and the same thing happens where Sonic is super, and the Death Egg goes to punch him, and Super Sonic just puts up one hand and stops that shit. And the same thing happens where Shadow is super, and Sonic is super, and Sonic goes to punch him, and Shadow just puts one hand up, which such a power move. Love that shit. But I remembered it because it was that same beat.
Yeah, I loved how visceral Sonic's emotions were.
Yeah.
In that, like, you know, where he is so ready to take on Shadow, and he's like, I'm not like you.
Yeah.
And they're beating each other up around the world, and they end up, like, you know, in Athens. And then eventually just punches Shadow to the moon.
I know.
I
know. He does punch him all the way to the moon.
Yeah. And then just I loved the scene with the two of them sitting on the moon.
Yeah.
And they're just under the star, like the lighting of that and everything, and how they were able to connect with each other.
Yeah.
It was so great. And then they went super, and then there was the little cheesy pose card.
I know. Oh my god. Yeah, I loved in that moment when they're both super and fighting each other versus when they're both super and working together. This is my favorite moment. Cancel me. I don't even know if I should say it. Sonic's got Shadow by the fluff. And the only thing that reminds him of himself is that he like points to his heart, and then we get a pretty close-up shot of the fluff. And I was like, there it is. That's my guy. That's the fluff.
I don't know. This movie was so great.
Agreed.
Oh my god. I just don't know. I don't want to say I don't know what to do with my life, because now we have Sonic movie 4 to look out for.
Yeah. We engage in fandom. That's what we do.
We create. I literally said, you know what, because it's like mad brick over here right now. I'm like, I do feel like more energized to write my fic.
And I will say, actually, I've already gotten an uptick in engagement again on what was stolen. So I think people no Amy's coming. Maybe they want to see some Amy fanfic. Maybe they just want to read some fanfic specifically about Amy or something. But I have gotten like more followers on fanfic.net and more comments on the earlier chapters in the past day.
Honestly, perfect. As you should.
Oh, God, I was going to say something else. Oh, I was going to say we haven't even poured one out for your fit yet, though.
Oh, yeah.
And you look so good.
Thank you. I decided to buy a tank top from Urban Outfitters and then get some rhinestones and bedazzle the black arm symbol onto the shirt. Again, because I'm so picky with like merch and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I am not the type of person who's gonna wear like a shadow hat or, you know, that type of thing. But I was just like, I really wanted to have like do something special for this movie because especially since joining the fandom and, you know, getting to know you and getting to know so many people, shout out to Bumble Crew people and all that stuff. Like the Sonic movie 3 was one of the most anticipated things in this fandom, and I was like, you know, I have to, you know, at least go a little bit out, if not all out. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And I was like, I needed to slay. Shout out to my boyfriend. Shout out to my boyfriend who dressed up he dressed up as Chris Thorndike.
What? Wait, I didn't see this. That's so funny. Wait, that's amazing.
It was so funny.
Little red shirt, some jean shorts.
Literally, he got the shirt and put some iron-on patches.
That's so fun.
He was a celebrity.
Yeah.
I need to say he was legitimately like at the end of the movie, because there were people hanging out in the theater and they were trying to kick us out. But like at one point we just heard Chris Thorndike, and they're like they literally taking pictures with
this
him.
Is so cute. I have just been sent a photo from my friend Strawberry of her and her partner. Oh my God, you guys are so freaking cute. Two icons in their own right.
Yes.
That's hilarious. I love that.
I know. So
oh my God.
Yeah.
Adorable.
It was really fun. Did you wear anything?
I did. I have my hand embroidered Son Amy shirt, which I'm sure I will wear to the next one. It was cold, and also I was wearing a gift from my partner. He had just got me for Christmas the shirt that Duncan from Total Drama Island wears with the skull on it.
Oh my God.
So I was wearing my Total Drama Island shirt, which is appropriate because that's the other fandom that I write fan fiction for. But yeah, not Sonic related.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
As you should, though.
Do you have anything else you want to say about the movie? Because I'd love to spend some time speculating about 4.
I think that's all I have on the movie.
Listen, we could always do a second episode if we go see it again.
Could.
We want to keep talking.
Yeah.
That would be part 1 and part 2.
Yeah.
Here's my big thought, Strawb. Pause because I almost doxed you. And I haven't. Hey, shout out! I haven't doxed you once.
You have not
episode.
doxed me.
Ooh. You know, in introducing Knuckles and Shadow, a little less so with Tails, the movies have really followed the pattern of the games, right? Knuckles meets Eggman first. They're at odds because, you know, they're fighting over the Master Emerald. Obviously, Shadow and the Ray, the planet destroying thing, all that. Tails a little less so because he sought Sonic out and was like, "Oh, I found you." Because I'm a big fan or whatever. But this movie, it seems like Amy, like, do you think the plot of movie 4 is going to follow, you know, the introductory game for Amy, which is where Metal Sonic kidnaps her and then Sonic rescues her? But already in the end credit scene, we've seen Amy kick Metal's ass.
Yeah.
So, like, what do you think they're going to do with movie 4?
Okay. Because here's the thing. We don't just see Metal Sonic. We see Metal Sonics.
Yep.
Like, we see clearly, like, a battalion of them.
Yeah.
And I am thinking whichever one is, like, the Metal Sonic, maybe going, like, you know, Metal Overlord or Neo Metal Sonic, maybe that's where it takes, like, you know, it takes control and actually catches Amy by surprise. I don't know, because the other thing too, and which for me is why I did not expect Amy. I don't know, it was like a way for me to, I guess, cope with it in case she didn't show up.
Yeah.
Because like I did not want to have my expectation. I think because so many people around me really, really wanted Amy to be in the next movie, and I was just like, I felt like
you have to balance
I didn't want to get
expectation.
Yeah, I had to balance out the over expectation with my severe under expectation, so that way like it doesn't hurt as much. But like, you know, I felt kind of cynical about Amy because I felt that people who didn't know the franchise would have, you know, this weird thing of like, oh, you know, how are you, like, you telling me that you're gonna make a pink girl hedgehog? Like, what is this? It's 2024, you know, like we're past this as a society. And I don't know, I was just like, I am a little, I hope that they don't over girl bossify her.
I just think it'll be interesting to see. And I tweeted this like when movie 2 came out, essentially something along the lines of, I really hope that people are as excited when Amy enters the universe as they are for all of these other characters, and don't nitpick her and the choices they make harder, because they are going to have to make choices about her character just because she is Amy and she is a woman, and it's easier to pick apart the things she does and the choices that they make with her. Like, I want it to be as celebratory and exciting and non-controversial, relatively, as this Shadow introduction was, but I just know that's not the case because, you know, they covered her up in a cloak. They'll probably redesign her a little bit. She's going to be the first person in the universe wearing clothes, so they're going to have to redesign her clothes a little bit. Obviously they haven't cast anybody yet, you know, they're gonna start making choices about the character, and I think it's a lot easier for people to feel okay with picking her apart than it is some of these other characters. But we'll have to wait and see.
I'm really curious. Like, I'm curious about her clothes, because I don't know that they're gonna keep her in the classic red dress. I don't think they are. No. They might do something kind of I'm thinking they might do some sort of like like
they'll do a nod. It'll be inspired. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll wear that dress in like a flashback, or she'll wear, you know, they'll do nods. We'll see.
Yeah, but I am really curious about like, okay, like what's her story? Like, how did she get to Earth?
Yes.
You know, like her feelings about Sonic or something. I do think about, like, I think when we were speculating in one of the episodes talking about like, oh, that you had said something along the lines of Amy being like, you know, she's powerful, like she's doing her own thing, whatever, and that Sonic is the one who has a little crush on her.
I could see that. Yeah. I still could see that. I will be interested to see how they interpret everything about her, her personality, her clothes, her relationship with Sonic. And again, it's that same interest and ability to interpret this character that's going to see people poking at her. But I love my girl, and I'm here for whatever they do, even and including, and maybe this is sacrilege, toning down or taking away the crush entirely, which I don't think they'll do. I really don't. But I do think I could see a world, and I stand by this, where to empower her and or to sort of flip the script on the relationship, which is obviously a huge sticking point for Sega, for fans, for whatever, if it's Sonic who's like, oh yeah. And it's not like they haven't done this before in Twitter Takeover. He's like, what, Amy? No, I don't think about her.
Yeah.
Like a sort of overcorrection on like, oh, I do have a harmless little crush, and so sometimes I, you know, I defend a bit too much. I'm manifesting a mutual, soft-spoken crush.
Yes.
I'm manifesting a mutual, our hands accidentally touch on the hammerhead, and then we're like, oh, sorry. That's what I'm manifesting.
Yes.
A hands touch and then we jolt away moment.
Yeah, because also, like, one of the things about these movies is, like, you know, the progression of just Sonic growing up, right? And I could kind of see this as, like, okay, like, Sonic is, like, getting older, and I think it has earned a little bit of, like, Sonic, like, exploring Sonic's romantic feelings.
Yeah, or just, like, yeah. Again, and we don't know where she's coming from. We don't know what she's been up to. We don't know why she's here. Because, like, I kind of wonder if maybe she has a different family crew already in New York. Like, maybe she got found by, the New York equivalent of the Wachowskis. And, like, you know, maybe it's about bringing people together in a different way. And I have no idea, but I will be really excited to see. I think the best thing that we can do if you're a person who loves Amy and you're nervous about the reception is just, like, be open-minded about what they do with her and be vocal about your support of the character and your excitement for the film.
Yeah.
Because, again, the other thing that happens with female characters in franchises like this movie was so big. It's sort of, I think it's called something like the sinking ship theory, where essentially if there's a sinking ship, a lot of CEOs or people will hand it off to a female leader because they know it's already failing.
Yes.
And this is not a failing ship, but it is a massively successful ship. And so it will have the same effect if they hand it off to a female lead introduced and it doesn't do the box office numbers. It doesn't do the whatever. It's also going to say, well, look at that. You introduced your female character and the ship started sinking. So I think support is really, really important, even though I know you should be critical. You should have thoughts and feelings, but you should be able to balance that out with support, especially if you do love the character, which we all should because she's so great.
She is great. She's lovely.
Ugh.
It just feels like, okay, like it feels like we closed, I don't want to say that we closed the book, but
I know.
We kind of closed the book on like this huge anticipation of Sonic Movie 3, but then now we have Sonic Movie 4 to look out for. And
I know.
Of course, the other projects that Sega has.
100%. There's been rumblings of Shadow and Knuckles shows still, lots of stuff.
That stuff. There's what else? I mean, I guess whatever the next mainline game is going to be.
Yeah, we'll see what Sega announces this year for games and things for sure. And
yeah,
I'm swearing to everybody right now on the podcast that 2025 is going to be the year that What Was Stolen finally ends, which is not an official Sega thing, but that's pretty big.
Yeah. No, What Was Stolen will finish in 2025.
Will finish, and if not, I will dox myself. And everybody can come pound my door down and tell me that I'm terrible.
Also, I mean, I don't know that I have any more theories for Sonic 4.
Yeah.
But I do just want to say to all of our lovely listeners, thank you so much for joining us this year.
I know. This has been a real blast.
I know. It has been such a pleasure just making episodes with this girly pop right here. And we are so excited for what we have to bring you in 2025. You know, even though we'll be worlds apart, but still cooking.
Totally. You can look forward to a Sonato Generations review. We have had some incredible people agree to do an interview. And then obviously What Was Stolen is coming to close, and we'll probably do something for that. So already a huge lineup for 2025. And I'm so happy that you will be joining us for that. And also, I love making this podcast with my good buddy, Strawb.
Aw, I love making this with Bee.
It's so fun.
Yes. Oh my goodness. And again, year is ending. I hope that everyone is having a wonderful holiday season, and I'm wishing the best of tidings for 2025 and all of your goals, all of your fan goals.
Oh yeah, tell us in the comments if you have fan goals, if you have fan resolutions, what your favorite piece of Sonic content for the year was. I mean, the conversation continues, and isn't that just fandom?
Yes.
And of course, as we say at the end of every episode of The Bee and the Berry,
it may not be canon, but it is correct.
Ciao, Bella.
And I'll ciao into the new year.